Hello and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. The descendants of the mighty celestial dragon of Grand Cathay are often the generals and are known as the Shugengan Lords. They are powerful, natural-born sorcerers who have mastery over the elemental winds, and they ride into battle on the mighty Great Spirit Longma dragons. Originating in Total War Warhammer, Games Workshop have created a magnificent, breathtaking miniature, packed with details, alternative options, and a lot of endless possible painting opportunities. It's a great miniature for all hobbyists. In this video though, I'll be focusing on the box art and game colour scheme. The colours are pretty straightforward if you know them, and in this easy to follow guide, I'll take you through how I painted mine step by step, including battle ready to parade ready, using the power of contrast paints. So if you're ready, grab your brushes, grab your paints, and let's get hobbying. The Shugengan Lord looks like an intimidating colour scheme, but the colours I'm going to be using will hopefully make it really straightforward and easy to do. So like the rest of my Grand Cathay tutorials, the model is completely primed in white scar. So I started underneath the model first. The Longma dragon has a set of grey scales from its neck all the way down to its tail. A simple base coat of the shade paint Soulblight Grey will colour this perfectly. Our scales are a nice easy mix of a 1-to-1 ratio of Lamy Medium and Briar Queen Chill. Now we're going to leave the inside of the wings, but for the outside, the arms, the legs and the visible chest area beneath the wings, we're going to paint those completely in Seraphim Sepia. We're making sure that we leave each part to dry completely before moving on to the next stage. Next we're going to use the Fuegan Orange shade paint, and you can add a small amount of Lamy Medium to help improve the flow if you need to. We're going to use this over the top wing membranes, but also those on the feet, the tail, the head, and its mouth area. Around the mouth, using a clean but slightly damp brush, we're going to feather out the colour for a natural transition into the face. We're also using this on the scales of its feet. Then using Coelia Greenshade, we're going to paint this all over the scales and the eyes. As we're waiting for the orange to dry, I've painted the horns in Wyldwood and the belt harness underneath the dragon with a 1-to-1 thinned down mix of Cygor Brown and Lamy Medium. Just to point out, I've also spotted more leather harness around the neck and the saddle, so I've painted this using our Cygor Brown mix. But our next colour is a 4-to-1 mix of Gryph Hound Orange and Lamy Medium. We need to apply this neatly and precisely and avoid pooling. I've painted it onto all the membrane spines. On our wings, I've feathered it out into the arms. I've painted this entirely on the underside of the wings, as well as the whiskers, and both sides of the Lord's top cloak, as well as the sash harness of the saddle. Next, create a 1-to-1 mix of Magmadroth Flame and Lamy Medium. We're using this on the underside of the wings, painted along each spine, leaving an open triangle of the previous colour in the centre as I'm showing you. Clean your brush and feather out the mix into this open area. Take your time though, check for pooling, but do this for each section. I've also painted the whiskers for a richer orange. As it's drying, take Flesh Terror's red and paint this over both sides of the top cloak as well as the shaft of the lance. Then take Black Legion and paint this over both sides of the bottom cloak. We can also use this to pick out each talon and nail across the model. I've decided to make the base rock more interesting and make the lion head jade. A simple 1-to-1 mix of Aeldari Emerald and Lamy Medium, followed by a shade of Coelia Greenshade, will bring this to life. Next, using a 2-to-1 mix of Ratling Grime and Lamy Medium, I've painted the rock. When it was dry, I've shaded it with Nuln Oil. I've also used Nuln Oil on both the red and black cloaks. For the weapon shaft, I've added a slight mix of Gore Grunta Fur and Lamy Medium just to give it a more natural wood look. And to save time, I've put some texture on the base, but that is down to you. Just a few contrast paints left to use. Our Shugengan Lord has a sashcloth around the waist. Paint this in Nazdreg Yellow. For the soft leather underneath the gloves, paint this in Cygor Brown. The soft underclothes and trousers can be done in Agrax Earthshade, and I've also applied this to the horns. Our skin tone is Darkoath Flesh. Finally, the hair of the Lord, as well as the hair on the lance, can be painted in Basilicanum Grey and once dry, shaded with Nuln Oil. It's time to make our Shugengan Lord battle ready. Paint the edges of the chest armour and neck trim with Balthazar Gold. For the gloves, saddle and boots, paint them all in Iron Warriors. Paint the blade, pistol, chest armour and saddle armour with Iron Hand Steel. Our remaining details are done in Retributor Armour. We're then going to shade our golds with Reikland Fleshshade and all of our silvers in Nuln Oil. Finally, pick out the gems in readiness for later with Stormhost Silver. I'm now going to go through all the highlights I've applied to the Great Spirit Longma, starting on the underside of the wings and the whiskers dry brush Lugganath Orange. Then over all of the orange details except the whiskers, dry brush Flayed One Flesh for a subtle flesh tone highlight. The horns, claws, talons and rock can be dry brushed in Karak Stone, while our jade can be dry brushed with Gauss Blaster Green. I've highlighted all the flesh areas with Pallid Witch Flesh and the scales individually with Deepkin Flesh. For the scales going down the underside of the neck to its tail, I've highlighted those with White Scar. We can also pick out the eyes too. Here I relayered them with White Scar, followed by a dot of Abaddon Black and a tiny dot of White Scar. The cloaks and hair on the whip images have a rich shine to them, and we can achieve this by using Citadel air paints via a normal paintbrush. First, highlight the red cloak with Wild Rider Red, and then highlights of Lugganath Orange on the areas that light would hit the most. Finally, paint an even layer of Angron Red Clear, spread it around, and make sure it doesn't pool. This paint can be quite thick, despite being very liquidy, and does take longer to dry. For the black cloak, the Lord's hair, as well as the hair on the lance, highlight with Dawnstone. Then paint the air paint Death Shroud Clear. Essentially, this is very similar to a very glossy Nuln Oil. Next, highlight the brown harness leather with Deathclaw Brown. For our yellow sash around the Lord's waist, highlight with Dawn Yellow. I've highlighted the pole of the lance in Wild Rider Red. And the Lord's clothes in Agrax Earthshade have been highlighted in Pallid Witch Flesh. Finally, a few spot highlights of Flayed One Flesh on the face. I've also picked out the eyes with a small dot of White Scar, followed by a smaller dot of Abaddon Black. With only the metallics left to do, I've also used the opportunity to finish the model quicker by sticking down some static grass. Finally, highlight our gold details with Liberator Gold, highlight our silvers with Stormhost Silver, and our bronze details with Canoptic Alloy. There are two distinctive gems, small circular ones, which I've painted in Angron Red Clear. For our larger gems located on the Lord's feet, front armour and lance, I've painted them with Warp Lightning, and once dry, I've shaded them with Beltan Green. With everything dry, I've used Ardcoat Gloss Varnish to pick out the gems and the eyes of both the dragon and the Lord. And with that done, it just leaves our base left to finish. And there we have it, our Shugengan Lord is finally finished, and it's done with a classic Tom's Warhammer Minis flower-inspired base. I keep saying this with every model I'm painting from this range, these are truly magnificent, they're just plain beautiful. And this one in particular makes me extremely excited to paint up the Storm Dragon. I mean, I was already excited when they revealed it, but I can really appreciate the quality of these miniatures. It also makes me want to get my hands on another one of these Shugengan Lords, but do it as a general, and probably a different, unique colour scheme. And yeah, I've seen some of the footage of that Total Warhammer game, and I absolutely want those baby ones that are the equivalent of the Jade Lancers. I mean, I've given the whole world the colour scheme now, so it's going to be very straightforward and easy to do. But I do hope this guide inspires and makes it easier, especially if you are doing the official colour scheme. And any likes and follows would mean a lot. But until the next time, happy hobbying.